So certainly I've been asked why Ethiopia when there's so much need here in Michigan or, in the nation as a whole. And I think it really comes down to how you define community. I like to define community beyond just some geographical boundary, because really for me it's the people that I touch and interact with on a regular basis. Certainly I have much greater impact on the quality of life of the guy that grows the sugar cane for the sugar in my jams than I do sometimes on a neighbor who's just 3 doors down who I've never met or never seen. So while the people in my immediate community are important to me and I watch out for them, I can't deny that I have impact on the lives of other people far away that are invisible to me. Fair trade gives us the mechanisms to help those people and make sure that we're treating them fairly, and projects like Run Across Ethiopia can go beyond fair trade to really give them the tools to develop their communities.
We live in a little bit of luxury every time we sip a cup of coffee. What we don't realize is the people that pick the beans that go into this very cup of coffee can barely feed their children, barely at all. When the price of coffee dips just a little bit, it means the difference between people in Ethiopia putting food in the mouths of their children literally, or not at all.
The terrain is severe, that should be clear, but where we go from here.
I got involved in this project through Fair Trade USA. They hooked me up with a gentleman called Timothy Young and Chris Treater. They came along with the idea that they were going to run across Ethiopia and do some beyond fair trade work. I see it as direct intervention in actually physically building schools in Ethiopia.
I think education is one of the best, if not the best way to help people pull themselves out of poverty.
Education's a right, not a privilege, and I very much believe that.
The point is to build 3 schools in this Yirgacheffe region where most of these students or these children don't really have a place to go to school.
This is not just a bunch of white, rich Americans that are showing up in Africa and taking over the village and telling people what they need. We actually went there and talked to the community leaders and said, what is it that you need? I mean, what could we do? You supply us coffee and other agricultural goods, and we want to give a little bit of that back. And across the board, it was all about education. They told us, we need schools.
We can make a real difference to those people's lives, and those children's lives in Ethiopia, and what their expectations of what they can do in the future, and how they can, hopefully become ambassadors themselves in terms of what such work can do to help people, get beyond this grinding level of poverty in the world. When we have so much riches in the world, there really shouldn't be people living in the conditions that currently exist in countries like Ethiopia. So we've got to spread that message back in the States. We've got to make this whole project be ongoing, and that's the key thing that we've got to do about it. We've got to educate people here as much as we're trying to educate children in Ethiopia.
As part of this, we're not just building schools, but we're paying a lot of attention to the awareness piece. And that's why we're bringing musicians, Seth and May. We have the film crew of James and Jamaica Weston. We have Jakob Wheeler, who's a very accomplished journalist who's coming, because we understand that beyond this run and beyond us building these schools, there is this story that needs to be told for generations to come, in hopes of inspiring other people to do similar projects and not forget that there's this other community of people out there that are intimately involved in our lives that deserve our attention, and when we can, deserve what we can offer.
Most of the families are coming from an agricultural perspective, so if you can gear towards the fact in terms of literacy, and then those people to understand more about the science to some degree of being able to improve the way in which they farm and develop their communities, and understanding perhaps even more around democracy and the ways in which they can be empowered as they grow older and make changes within their own lives and have the confidence to do that. I think education, being educated, gives people confidence, and then they can see for themselves. I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody on this run has all the answers. I mean, they're the people who really have the answers.
And so the goal of this project, I think, is awesome. We're not just giving money to people, we're helping them to help themselves, which I think is also part of the overarching idea of fair trade that I like so much. And it really gets me even more motivated than I already was to finish raising all the funds.
It's a pretty audacious notion, running 240 miles across Ethiopia, but it comes from a really humble place, and we know all these runners, and we know that they care deeply about their work and about their partnerships. And we're trying to approach it in the same way, with open, humble hearts, ready to see what this adventure brings and to try to bring you into it and bring it back to you. So we're excited to be able to be a part of this fundraising for the schools in Ethiopia, and that's what it's all about, providing schools for the people who provide us with our coffee.
It's important, I think, for people to understand that Run Across Ethiopia is really a good investment. Not only are we a nonprofit organization, but we're primarily voluntarily run. So a vast majority of any dollar that you donate goes right to the project. It's going to buy bricks and mortar, it's going to buy windows, it's going to buy roofing, it's going to pay a teacher's salary. It's going to make a huge impact in the lives of children for generations to come. So if this is something that you can support, please visit onthegroundglobal.org and make a donation. A small amount goes a long way, and of course a larger amount is very much appreciated.